Oh, we are live. Okay, good evening, everybody. And what is up, dogs? My name is Daniel Baird, and I'm an event facilitator here with McNally Robinson Booksellers. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that we are on Treaty 1 territory, and that the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Ininawak, Anishinaabe, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Red River Métis. In addition, McNally Robinson Booksellers itself rests on the land once occupied by the Métis community of Roostertown. And of course, we are gathered here to celebrate the Winnipeg launch of Thomas Wharton's Wolf Moon Dog. And of course, we're big fans of Wharton's work here at the store, and we are so pleased that he can join us once again. And we're grateful to Random House of Canada for making this happen, and to our friends at FOOM Winnipeg for coming on board to help present this evening. And we're also very happy to have Ben Sigurdson here to host the conversation. So following the reading, there will be a conversation with Thomas and Ben, and then following that, there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions. So if you do have a question, just give a quick raise of your hand and I'll come by with a wireless microphone. Just to ensure that you're heard here, and for those watching online, I do know we have a few people watching on there as well. And then I will be back at the end just to review how the signing procedure will go. But for now, I do have the pleasure of introducing tonight's guests. So your host, Ben Sigurdson, is the literary editor, drinks columnist, and writer in the Arts and Life Department at the Winnipeg Free Press. In 2005, Ben graduated from the University of Manitoba with an MA in English. He has served as a juror for the regional and national book prizes, including the 2022 Kobzar Book Award and the Manitoba Books Award 2022 McNally Robinson Book of the Year Award. And he has 3 cats. And of course, our special guest, Thomas Wharton, has been published in Canada, the US, the UK, France, Italy, Japan, and other countries. His first novel, Icefields, won the 1996 Commonwealth Writers' Prize for Best First Book, Canada, and the Caribbean, and was also a 2008 CBC Canada Reads Pick. His next book, Salamander, was shortlisted for the 2001 Governor General's Literary Award for Fiction, and was also a finalist for the Rogers Writers Trust Fiction Prize the same year. In 2006, Wharton's collection of stories, The Logogryph, was shortlisted for the International Dublin Literary Award. And his latest novel, The Book of Rain, was a finalist for the 2023 Atwood Gibson Writers Trust Fiction Prize and the 2024 Georges Bunier Award for Fiction, and has sold rights to France and Russia. Wharton currently lives near Edmonton, Alberta. And of course, his latest book, Wolf Moon Dog, is a witty, charming, and heartfelt novel about the many fabled lives of a dog named Wolf. Hunter, guardian, guide, healer, and friend. And here to tell us more, please join me in welcoming Thomas Wharton.
Thanks, Daniel. Hi, everybody. I'm going to adjust this a little bit. There we go. Okay, I love this bookstore. This is an incredible bookstore, and you folks are so lucky to have this place. It's just fantastic. So I'm really happy to be back here again. And for your added viewing pleasure, back here is Nala. And I would love to have her come up here and just sort of take over, but I guess I have to read, so. Okay, so yeah, this novel came about because my wife and I, we lost our dog, Boo. She passed away, and I said, that's it, no more dogs, I'm done. And then one night my wife went on a trip, and I was sitting by myself in front of the TV going, I miss my dog. So when my wife came back home, I said, let's get a dog. So we went out and we got this little dog named Sam, and I was playing with him one day out in the yard, and I thought, it's so weird that these funny little goofballs descended from, you know, the big bad wolves of the Ice Age. So it was like this light went off. It's like, that would make a great story. So that's kind of what this is. I call it a fable because, you know, the dog can actually talk in the story. So I thought what I'd read is just a little bit from the beginning, or near the beginning. Wolf, it starts with Wolf, who is a wolf in the Ice Age, and he's kicked out of his pack. So he's forced to, in order to survive, he's forced to see if he can get along with these weird new creatures who walk around on two legs and wear animal skins. And so he meets a boy, a human boy, and they agree to team up, and so that, you know, on a trial basis, if Wolf will guard the camp and things like that, then they will feed him bones. And that's kind of where the story is, at the part where I'm going to read to you now. Before dawn one morning, the boy came to Wolf without his weapons. I thought of something else we can team up on, the boy said. What do you have in mind? Wolf asked. It's better if I don't say too much ahead of time. Trust me, it'll be great. You'll see. Just go along with whatever happens and don't embarrass me. I don't know what that means. It means just follow my lead. So Wolf followed the boy over a hilltop and down to the next valley, where some other humans were camped that Wolf hadn't met yet. A few of these strange humans were already up and around, making fires and cooking food. As the boy drew near, the humans gave him a smile and a nod, but they eyed Wolf warily. I guess they're not sure about me, Wolf said. Just be cool, the boy said. I don't know what that means either. The boy led Wolf to one of the humans' portable caves made from the skins of the hunted, and whispered that he should just wait to one side of the entrance, just out of sight. Then the boy made a soft sound, like a bird cooing. After a moment, the door flap lifted and a girl came out of the cave. You're here early, she said to the boy. Oh, I've been up for hours, the boy said. I always go for a swim in the lake first thing. Then I climb some trees to look for eggs, and then I check my rabbit snares. Uh-huh, the girl said. None of what the boy had just said was true, Wolf observed, but he thought it best not to comment. It seemed that being cool meant more of what the boy had called pretending. Do you want anything to eat? The girl asked. No, not for me, but if you've got any leftover bones from At that moment, the girl caught sight of Wolf. Oh my God, she shrieked, so loud that Wolf ducked his head and prepared to run. Oh my God, he's beautiful, the girl said. They said you had one of these, but I didn't believe it. Will he let me pet him? He will, the boy said, eyeing Wolf pointedly. The girl squatted down to Wolf, and to his stupefaction, she plunged her hands into his thick mane. Oh my God, you are just the biggest sweetheart ever. Wolf glanced at the boy in alarm. The boy nodded. The next unnerving thing the girl did was to cup Wolf's snout in her hands while she made kissing noises at him with her lips. Mwah, mwah. Oh, I love you, the girl said. Mwah, mwah. Who's a gorgeous guy, huh? Who's a gorgeous guy? You are. That's right. You are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. As if it had a will of its own, Wolf's tail began to wag. I'm just going to keep you handsome, the girl said. That's all there is to it. Would you like to live with me? You'd like that, wouldn't you? Yes, you would. Yes, you would. You would like that. Yes, yes, yes. Wolf agreed that this did sound like the key to absolute joy, but for some reason he couldn't form the words. His heart was turning mad circles in its bone cage. The girl stood up. Just a minute, I'll find him something, she said, and off she went at a trot. Wolf started after her. Don't, the boy said, towing him in the ribs. Wolf lay back down, his head spinning. He'd lost sight of the girl. Was she coming back? She wasn't coming back. He didn't know what he would do with himself if she never came back. After a long agony, the girl returned with a meaty bone. Wolf rose to greet her, tail wagging so hard his whole body shook. Again, the girl plunged her soft hands into his fur. I missed you too, sweetheart. She gave him the bone and he set to work on it. Meanwhile, the boy and the girl went off a short distance and talked for a while in soft voices. They joined hands too for a little bit. Then they came back. You come see me anytime, gorgeous, okay? The girl said to Wolf, "You're my boyfriend now and nobody else's. Got that?" Wolf gazed up at her with his tongue hanging out and his tail going mad. Then it was time to head home. "Let's go," the boy said. Wolf followed reluctantly. He kept looking back at the girl who stood at the door to her cave, blowing him kisses. They went back across the valley and over the hill to their own camp. Neither of them spoke the entire way. They could have been walking in their sleep. "Well," the boy said when the camp came into sight, "you made a complete fool of yourself." "Did I?" Wolf asked dreamily. "Oh yeah," the boy said. "It was perfect." Thank you.
Ooh. That was good. That was a perfect reading for a dog themed book. And while you were reading, I had to keep turning around to look at the dog in the eyes and see if there's any reaction. But she didn't seem too. I thought for sure that with those "no, you're very cute, aren't you? Come here," that kind of talk.
Get her reacting.
Yeah, exactly. But very, very well done. Really, really cool and fun book. You did talk about the loss of a dog and getting a new dog and sort of the basic origins of the book. But I wonder if you could go into that a little bit more. Like, how long ago was it that you sort of that you had this light go off in your head, and how long of a process did it take to pull it all together?
Sure. Yeah, actually, this was pretty recent. And I never thought I was going to write about dogs, right? I always liked dogs and pretty much always had a dog, but it never crossed my mind that it was something to write about until just like kind of a year and a half ago, really. And this is when all of this stuff took place that I was talking about, the little dog that we got and brought home.
What kind of a dog is it?
Sam is a Border Collie Shih Tzu cross. He was actually an accident. We went to this breeder of Border Collies, and she had one of her Border Collie dogs got out and had a very brief romance with the family Shih Tzu, and Sam and his siblings were the result.
That's similar to my origin story, isn't it? That's for another time.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah, so we brought the dog home, and I was playing with him in the yard, as I said, and that was when the light bulb went off. And I'm telling you, once I realized I was going to write about dogs, it was like the floodgates opened, and I wrote this book faster than I've ever wrote anything before. Mm-hmm. Right? Usually, a book takes me 6 years, or this one took 6 months from idea to the publisher picking it up.
Okay.
And it made my head spin, but I can kind of understand it because it was so much fun to write. Mm-hmm. I couldn't write about dogs and not have a great time. So I was waking up in the morning, every morning, going, all right, I get to write about dogs again today.
That's very cool. That's a great way to just throw yourself into your work. So in terms of the book's structure, it has a number of all these different chapters, I guess, where we encounter Wolf in different time periods and sort of correspondingly a lot of different sort of narrative devices that use different meter or like court transcripts or
right.
All these different kinds of approaches. How long did it take you to sort of figure out how you were going to do, like, because you could just do a novel about a dog or a wolf who becomes a dog and sort of, mm-hmm. But with this dog who comes back numerous times over, mm-hmm. Various time periods, it gave you the opportunity to sort of, I would think, play with form a little bit too.
Yeah, it really did. And I thought about that, right? That was kind of my original idea was, okay, this whole thing is going to be the story of this wolf who becomes the first dog, right? That was the idea. But I thought about all of the ways that people have interacted with dogs through history. Some of them wonderful and some of them, pretty tragic and awful. And I kind of wanted to cover some of that, right? Because it's fascinating to me. And also a lifetime of reading, I thought, well, I can sort of I can put a dog lens on some of the periods of writing and stories that I love. So for example, there's a chapter that's very much an homage to Jane Austen, right? It takes place in Regency England. Mm-hmm. And so in this reincarnation, Wolf is a little King Charles Cavalier Spaniel lapdog for a young lady. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, that allowed me to play with Jane Austen and kind of, you know, do an homage to her work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you, for each of these different chapters and these different sort of literary, you know, genres that you're working in, or references that you have, did you have a different, like in your head, was there a different dog that emerged as you were writing the different chapters?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I was always aware that I wanted there to be some continuity, right? This is always Wolf, but how much does breed matter in terms of what dogs are like? You know, I don't think it matters all that much, right? The American Kennel Club and all those people make a huge deal out of breeds, right? But you know, you meet most dogs and they kind of display certain things that we all know, right? And we all know and love, or maybe not love so much. And so I guess I'm kind of getting at that. You know, the breed may change, the place, the time may change, but there's something eternal in these creatures, and I guess I was looking for a way to say that.
Mm-hmm. And so in researching this book, it sounds like in the afterword you talk about some of the sort of historical pooches that you came across, or that were influences for some of your different chapters. Is there anything sort of in that work, that research, that surprised you about famous or infamous dogs of history?
Yeah, infamous. Yeah, I didn't find too many infamous ones. I guess the one that moved me.
That's for the sequel.
Yeah, that's right. The bad dogs, right?
There's the title.
Bad dogs. Yeah, it's gonna be hard to find those, but
that's
yeah. I think the one that moved me the most was the story of Laika, the Soviet space dog. And I'd sort of known about her in the back of my mind, but I thought she had survived and had come back down to Earth. And then I read a really beautiful book called Laika's Window. I'm going blank on the author's name, but it's the story of, you know, from beginning to end of this street dog that was picked up and brought to the Soviet space program and trained and sent into space. And there was no intention whatsoever of ever bringing her back. She was just sent up there, and they knew full well that she wouldn't survive. And it just broke my heart, and this book was beautiful, and so I wanted her to be one of the dogs in the book. But I wasn't happy with just ending her story where they say it ends. So I invented a whole other chapter where she meets these super intelligent dogs from the future who snatch her out
with thumbs.
Yeah, with thumbs. Dogs.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
The dogs have thumbs.
Who snatch her out of the space capsule at the last second and bring her forward through time to the future. And so she gets an afterlife.
Yeah, it was a very. I thought that turn was very sort of like a little bit 2001-ish. Like it made me think of sort of near the end of that movie where the main character is very old and sort of in this beautiful serene white room. Anyway, that's not here nor there. It was a nice way to sort of bring it back around, because when I finished the initial chapter about Mike, I was kind of bummed out.
Yeah, for sure.
And what was there was another I found the chapter with the attorney, or the what's the word for it? I'm totally blanking.
The advocate?
Yes, the advocate, thank you. The court transcripts. Maybe talk a little bit about that chapter, because I found that I found that quite difficult to believe. But then in the end, you're like, no, this happened. There was an advocate for dogs who, or for animals, I guess, who represented them in court.
Yeah, this was based on this mostly happened in France. It happened in other countries too, but it mostly happened in France, where animals who had done something that upset people, right? Like a donkey had trampled a child or something. These animals were then taken to court and put on trial for their crime, right? And I always thought that was just so bizarre. But yeah, dogs, other animals. So I have a chapter that's based on that true history about that sort of thing. Yeah, this guy was a real advocate who made his name defending animals of one kind or another in court.
And I also thought it was so fascinating that some of the humans can understand the dogs and the other ones clearly can't. Like in the court transcripts, the dog is listed as saying something, but then the judge says like, you keep that animal under control or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, talk a little bit about sort of the decisions you had to make in terms of who who Wolf could communicate with, if and that sort of aspect of it.
Okay. Yeah, it was kind of a case-by-case, chapter-by-chapter decision I had to make. Is Wolf going to be able to talk to the people in this chapter or not? And I just found as I got further away from the beginning in the Ice Age, in a time that's kind of mythic and legendary and all of that, the closer I got to the present, the less it just worked to have the dog talk to people. So I realized I was kind of saying something about how maybe at one time we were so much closer to animals that we could read them and they could read us far, far better than we can now, right? And so as we move towards modernity, we lost that closeness with the animals. And I think that's why, in the later chapters, Wolf can't talk to the people can't talk to Wolf. Although some of them really, really want to, right? They wish they could. Yeah.
Ever think of doing any of the chapters first person, first animal?
First animal. Yeah, I thought about that too, but I was trying to shy away from, there's a certain genre of book, I'm sure you know, a dog book, where it's, I was born in a da-da-da-da-da, and I was taken away from my mother when I was a puppy, and
Sarah McLachlan song.
Yeah. I kind of wanted to get away from that and do something a little bit different. So I was trying to avoid that. Yeah.
It also makes me think of Looney Tunes, like, I will hug him and pet him and I will call him George. In doing your research, did you also, in addition to looking at historical dogs, do any reading of like literary dogs, like dogs in books?
Oh yeah,
what have you? And what were some of those?
Yeah, there's so many. Once you go looking for them, they're all kind of all over the place. So a really great one is Virginia Woolf's book Flush, which is about Elizabeth Barrett Browning's dog, her little lap dog, and it's unlike anything else Virginia Woolf wrote. Right, most of her novels are super serious modernist things, and this is just a kind of fun, it's about this, and it's from the dog's point of view, right? What life was like living with this person who was basically a shut-in most of her life. So yeah, there's that. I mean, it goes all the way back to what I think of as the first literary dog, and that is Odysseus's dog, Argus, right? When Odysseus comes back to Ithaca after 20 years of wandering, one of the first beings he encounters is his old hunting dog, Argus. And Odysseus is disguised as a beggar, and so nobody else recognizes him. But the second his dog lays eyes or knows on him, he knows who it is. And so Argus feebly wags his tail and then dies, right? Dies. And it's one of the most moving moments in literature that there is. Yeah, and there's so many moments like that. A Canadian writer whose book I can highly recommend to you if you haven't read it is Farley Mowat's The Dog Who Wouldn't Be. I read that ages ago when I was a kid, and I really loved it, and I thought, okay, great. And then I got older, and not too long ago I decided I'd read it again, and now I'm an old softie because I'm a grandfather. So I reread The Dog Who Wouldn't Be, and I got to the final chapter where Mutt, the dog, sorry, I'm gonna lose it here.
All right.
Where Mutt dies at the end, and it's the most beautiful, painfully beautiful thing. I read it, as I say, I read it again recently, and I just lost it completely. It's a beautiful book if you can handle stuff like that. Some people can't. Like a friend of mine, when she heard that I was writing this book, she said, "Does the dog die?"
Like so many times, actually.
Yeah, that's what I said to her. It's like, well, several times actually. So I told her I would give her a copy of it where I would check the chapters that were safe for her to read.
You just rip out pages too, I guess.
Yeah.
There you go. You should maybe McNally needs to put together a little display of literary dogs.
Yeah. Sure.
With, of course, Wolf and the Dog featured prominently.
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask you about the chapter called Underdog, where you really take a different literary approach and much more sort of rhythmic and rhyming. Talk a little bit about that chapter. I mean, I assume probably because the book is very new that most people won't have already had a chance to plow through it, but yeah, talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah, actually, it might be kind of fun to just read a tiny bit of it because this chapter, Underdog, is based on the Robert Service Gold Rush Yukon poems, which at one time every Canadian knew those poems off by heart, right? My dad used to recite them when I was a kid, right? He could recite these poems off by heart, and they used to make a hair stand on end on my arms. I loved them so much. So I had to do a chapter in homage to these, right? A bunch of us dogs were huddled outside the Malamute saloon. Here in the snow, it was 50 below under a big icy moon. While our masters sat by a roaring fire and tippled and kissed the whores, we shivered and growled and occasionally howled. That's life for a mutt out of doors, right?
That's great.
I had a blast doing that one.
Yeah, and it's it's like 6, 8, I don't know, maybe 10 pages of it. It's like it was remarkable. And it was very well done. Never like the cadence was just always there. It was just like it was so. Once you get into that rhythm of reading like that, I'd forgotten because it had been a while since I'd read anything sort of as structured as that. And once you get into it, you just sort of it's like you're sort of slowly rolling down a hill. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you about another chapter. I mean, did this take a long time for you to read? I'm just hold it up here.
Well,
it's pages with human feet and dog paws. So.
Yeah, no, that didn't take very long to write.
Yeah, that's cool. I did want to ask about generally about the aesthetics, the design of the book, and what have you, where these kind of ideas did come from. And I know I won't spoil it for people who don't have the book yet, but in the bottom right-hand corner of the book, there's a little bonus if you
flip the pages, you get a little bonus treat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the chapter that's nothing but dog paw prints. The people who created the audiobook, they had a really tough time with that. How are we going to do this, right? Pitter, 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 pitter. I haven't heard it yet, so I don't know what they came up with, but I'm waiting to hear what they came up with.
You didn't do any of the audiobook?
No, I was hoping they'd let me.
I was going to say, judging by the chapter that you read, you've done a great job.
No, they found a great voice actor, so I'm happy about that. But yeah, the design was done by one of the in-house Random House designers named Terry Nimmo.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the design elements in this were like a complete surprise to me until I saw the first advanced copy, and it was just like, oh my God, I love this.
Even the flip.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I will spoil it then because there's a little flip book of a dog running in the bottom corner.
Yeah.
I was at work today and I was talking to someone about this book and I was like, what's it called when you have a book and you flip? And it's just called a flip book. I was like, I'm sure there was a more technical name for it.
It doesn't have a fancy name.
No, exactly. Was there any of these as components of this book, any of the chapters that you found easier, more difficult to write, or you had to come back to, you had to really sort of blow it up and start over again? Or were there other periods where Wolf existed that you couldn't make them work with how you wanted the final product to be?
Yeah, there were a few that just did not work. And my wonderful editor, Ann Collins at Random House, she's very good at gently telling me, yeah, I don't think that quite works. So I honestly can't remember too much about the ones that got scrapped, but I guess if the most difficult thing was to decide how to bring it back around at the end, because at the end it comes back to Wolf back in the Ice Age with the boy. It's like, okay, well, how am I going to wrap this up? I want a big finish, but I don't want violins, but I think I went violins.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you nailed it.
Yeah.
It was great. I loved the way it wraps up. And in the afterward, you talk about of it being a work of imagination, about fables. You say the truth is we turn other animals into people in our stories, not because we mistake what they are, but because we're not sure what we are. And we've always looked to animals to tell us. So animals as sort of a window into ourselves.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah, if you at your wonderful art gallery, I was there today. They have this incredible Inuit art collection, and it's almost all animals, right? Beautiful animal sculptures. Although, strangely enough, there's almost no dogs, which really struck me as funny, right? Because obviously dogs are on my mind. So where are the sled dogs? These dogs who are absolutely crucial to their way of life, and there's almost no sculptures of them. But whatever. I mean, it still strikes a person that so much of this art is animals, and I think that's really what it is, right? People trying to figure out who are we, what are we, right? It's the question we've been asking ourselves since we could think and since we had languages. What the hell are we? And we've always, in poetry and art, like the Inuit carvings, in the cave art of the prehistoric people, it's always turning towards these other creatures. And you know what kids are like too, right? Kids just instantly connect to animals in a way that's just beautiful and also mysterious, right? Why do we love animals so much? Why do we tell stories about them? Yeah, I just think we're trying to puzzle ourselves out.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, I often think of people and the animals that they live with. I want to say and their animals, but it's just a technicality. Maybe it's the other way around. The animals and their people.
Yeah, right.
And how similar they often can be, and how people say, oh, it's not the breed, it's the owner. Say for a problematic dog breed, let's say. But it does seem to me to be fairly true. Like often animals and people who live together seem to be a reflection of each other in a way that is just magical. I mean, I don't have dogs, as was mentioned. I have 3 cats, but I still think that resonates. And I do know lots of people who have dogs. My parents-in-law have many Chinese cresteds. Like,
oh wow,
they show them, and I can't really go into too much detail, but many, and they have had many, and it's just anyway, it's just so interesting to see people and their animals, or animals and their people, sort of, and how closely they are aligned personality wise.
Yeah.
That's not really a question, I guess.
No, I totally.
Do you find that with your dog?
Yeah, I think probably Sam is the most like me of the dogs we've had, which is not flattering to me because he's kind of a nutcase. So, yeah.
I'm trying to think of what else I had that I wanted to ask you about this before we maybe throw to some questions. You wrote an article a couple of years ago about lucid dreaming.
Oh yeah.
I just found that in my research.
Yeah.
Is that anything that has sort of impacted your writing, or anything in relation to this book?
Yeah, it's part of my writing practice, I guess. My creative practice is I keep a dream journal, and I don't always lucid dream, but sometimes I do. That's the kind of dream where within the dream, you suddenly realize, hey, I'm dreaming. And, you can kind of take a certain control of the dream and fly or whatever you want to do. And I realized once I started having these dreams a couple decades ago, I thought, I can plan stories. I can come up with stories. I can ask it's kind of like you're meeting your subconscious face to face, which is something you can't do when you're conscious or you're just regular dreaming. But with lucid dreaming, it's like you meet this deep well of consciousness that our daylight consciousness is really only the tip of the iceberg. And the riches in there are inexhaustible. So I've been lucky to be able to sometimes, I sometimes refer to it as kind of like diving, deep sea diving. Down I go, and I might be able to once I wake up, scratch a line or two from the subconscious, direct from the subconscious, and use it in the writing.
Yeah, or even like as a jumping off point, I would think.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. I'm trying to think what else I had to ask you. Before I forget, on a purely selfish note, for the Free Press section, or book section, we have a section called the On the Night Table. What you're reading, what it's about, your thoughts on it. Anything you've got on the go right now?
Oh, only about 17 books. Yeah.
So you don't have to name all 17, but
yeah.
anything that stands out that you.
Oh man, whenever people ask me this question, what are you reading right now? My mind goes completely blank.
That's fine.
It's like I got a stack of books.
That's you probably have your own book.
Yeah,
exactly. Oh, that sounds all good. Is it dog related?
Some of it is, not all of it. No, I don't have too obsessed.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you getting to the point where maybe you have a dog literature problem?
Yeah, close.
Called a dog panel, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to think. I can probably throw and see if there are any questions. Unless I have anything else.
I do want to point out.
Yes.
I have a little pin here that I picked up online, and it says, "Please don't pet me. I'm working."
When I first saw it, I thought it said, "Please don't pet me. I'm learning." But working makes a lot more sense. But because you are working.
Yeah.
And we're all learning. So Daniel's got a microphone if anyone has any questions, dog related, literature related, or otherwise. Both, yes, exactly. That includes the dog, if the dog has any questions.
Check with the dog. Welcome back, Thomas.
Thank you. Yeah,
the last time you were here, you were talking about the Book of Rain.
Yep.
And you got talking about fables. And relationship that book had to fables. And I thought as I read this book, he was writing this book. Wow. But you weren't.
No.
So, but fables are clearly something you think about.
Yeah.
So what is the relationship of fables to this book? Because they're kind of fables, but I wouldn't say they're exactly fables.
No, not exactly. It depends on what you think a fable is or how you define it. And people usually think of them as little moral tales in which animals talk and represent human traits. And, I think there's something that's kind of problematic about that now, that genre, because we sort of impose these moral meanings onto these other animals. But I wanted to have a talking dog, and I wanted this book to be kind of playful like that. So I thought, well, okay, what is this really then? I guess and I realized it's a fable about fables. It's stories about the way that we story dogs, in particular in this book, right? The way that we turn them into stories and what the meanings that we give them and how we think about them. I guess that's the deeper part of this thing. It's a playful book, it's a fun book, but that's kind of always going on underneath. It's like, one of the chapters is based on a Zen koan, where a monk goes to the old master and says, "Master, does a dog have Buddha nature or not?" And the old master says, "No." And that's it. That's the entire koan, right? Nope. And
yours is a little longer.
Yeah. So I thought, well, what will be the sequel to that? Let's find out, right? Let's find out what happens when this monk won't give up, right? He wants to know why the master said dogs don't have Buddha nature. So, as I say, I'm kind of like taking these stories about dogs and playing around with them and seeing what else I can do with them. But I'm glad that you kind of noticed the connection with Book of Rain, because that book ends with talking birds, of course, right? And when I had written that, it was like I had sort of given myself permission to allow animals to talk in my books. And I think that's part of the reason why this worked as quickly as it did. The writing happened as quickly as it did, because I'd already sort of said, yeah, you can do that. You can go through that door. Just go through it and see what happens. So, yeah.
And the Zen koan chapter, the dog, who is often referred to as Wolf in most of the chapters, has a different name in this chapter, doesn't he?
Right, yeah.
Which is?
The old monk names him Banana.
Which is fantastic. Totally out of left field.
Yeah,
I love it. Any other questions out there for anyone? Oh, another one in the back, yes.
Question. My niece who has epilepsy, she and her husband have a team that looks after her in the sense that she's only 30 years old.
Oh, yeah.
But if there's something happening with the epilepsy, that the drugs aren't working, the dog usually 15 minutes before, so that pheromone ability, the 400,000 times better pheromone sniffing than humans,
Yeah.
knows ahead of time what's going on in the body.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, why is it that we put up walls against knowledge, the kind of communication that comes from having a companion at home or doing other work, not just service job work,
Right.
but to open those doors. You're doing it, and I'm really happy to see that.
Thank
But
you.
at the same time, there's so many gifts that the wildlife, and another point being Jane Goodall just passed,
Oh,
91
yes.
years,
Right.
and literally the kind of contributions she had made even early in her life about the amount of DNA about chimps, even orangutans, others, but chimps primarily,
Mhm.
the communication that happens
Yeah.
through eyes, and I
Yeah.
couldn't imagine what we could benefit from. Not to make money on it, but to actually give them credit for what they do and pay attention.
Yeah.
Real attention.
Yeah. And sorry, go ahead.
My large breed mixed mastiff ridgeback King Corso currently, only 2 years old, literally has different speaking vibes at different times.
Oh, yeah.
And you can tell. So how do we move that forward to acknowledge and not just put them to work, but to
Right.
acknowledge that
Yeah.
these are living beings, that their
Yeah.
DNA is very similar to ours.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, we have the dog and humans have the longest bond of any animal that humans have ever connected with, right? It goes back way farther than any other animal. And I really feel like in that time, and I think science kind of backs this up too, that we have actually influenced each other in many ways. So we didn't just make the wolf into a dog, but the dog made us into humans. And as I was saying before, I think we forgot most of that as time went by, because, you know, we're obsessed with categories and keeping things in their categories. And a dog is a dog. It's not a human. You know, you go back a couple hundred years and you have people like Rene Descartes saying, these animals are just machines. They don't think, they don't feel. They're just reactive machines, which is absolute bullshit, right? And we're starting to recover that. I think a lot of things are happening now, and Jane Goodall is a good example of somebody who's moving things forward, but at the same time moving things back around to the kind of wisdom and knowledge that we used to have when we were closer to these creatures. And I mean, it's miraculous that we have these animals, dogs, in our lives, and we had them there for so long. I think we need to appreciate them, not just for the work they do, but just for what they are, who they are, you know, just for being. Yeah.
I want to hear from the dog.
No, sorry, no thoughts. This isn't a question. I just, the Jane Goodall, I was wasting brain cells on a social media feed today. And I got a clip, or saw a clip of her being asked, what is your favorite animal? The interviewer said he'd heard that chimpanzees were not her favorite animal. She said, no, they're too much like humans. Oh, so what's your favorite animal? Dogs.
Yeah, fantastic.
So Chris pointed out the connection between Book of Rain and this book, the fables. What's next? What are you working on now?
Well, I've got a couple things on the go. One of them is a book that I wrote years and years ago, and I self-published it, and nobody bought it. Nobody noticed it was there. So it sat for a long, long time, and I've dug it back out again. And funnily enough, I realized I could give one of the characters a dog. They didn't have one, and I could write a dog into the story. And so I'm doing that right now.
He's got a problem.
Sorry?
You got a dog.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what?
Yeah.
This book would really be a lot better with dogs. It's like, well, this is science fiction.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So that I'm doing that, and we'll see what happens with that. But I got a couple other things on it though, and my agent is like, yeah, dogs, do more of that. Yeah. So,
What is it like to go back and look at some of your older writing like that? Is it you sort of like you're wincing as you open the page, and you're like, oh, you know what, actually this is pretty good, or is it sort of
yeah, it's kind of a mix of both, right? I had the great opportunity with my first novel, Ice Fields. They did a 25th anniversary edition of it a few years ago, and they allowed me to actually make a few little minor changes to the manuscript for this new edition. And that's kind of like a writer's dream, to go back to something you wrote a long time ago and look at it and realize, oh yeah, I would do that really differently. So yeah, that gave me the opportunity to do that.
I imagine that whole can be varying depths though. Like, I mean, once you get in there, you're like, oh, I'll just fix this. And then, a week later, the publisher's calling like, sort of blew it all up. Just putting it all back together again completely. So, but I imagine that'd be a pretty interesting experience. Is the new material you're working on now, is it coming as quickly?
It is not. It's
Sorry.
Things have gone back to the way they usually are. Where it's just taking forever. But I'm just I guess I've learned that you write and you write and you write until you get to that moment that you wait for as a writer, where that light goes off and it's like, yeah, I'm off to the races now. I know what I'm doing. I know where this is going. So you just have to be patient and sort of trust the process, right? Trust the process that you have to go through this slog of, I'd rather do anything rather than write to get to those moments.
What does a typical working day look like for you, other than probably lots of breaks to pet the dog?
Yeah, it starts with breakfast. No, sorry. It starts with walking Sam first, then breakfast. He gets his breakfast before the walk. I get my breakfast after the walk, because he won't wait for me to sit down and have my breakfast. So yeah, walk, breakfast, writing all morning, walk at noon, and then back, if there's time, back to it maybe with a little less energy. And then trip to the dog park. We're really lucky. We have this huge dog park near our house. And I mean, it's acres and acres and acres. And there's wide open spaces, but there's also woods, paths through the woods, and it's absolute dog heaven. So my wife and I and Sam, that's kind of one of the highlights of the day, is just to go to the dog park. And as soon as he gets through that gate, yeah.
I feel like you gotta write more about dogs.
Yeah.
Like your publisher's right.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Any other sort of questions out there from folks? No? Oh, one over in the corner here.
I'm just wondering, are you still writing kids' books?
Not really. I did the one for it was called Rutherford the Time Traveling Moose, and that was a fun project. But no, not really. Not. Who knows though? I didn't know I was going to be writing about dogs a couple of years ago. So who knows?
Could be like Wolf Moose Dog. Could be like the sequel, the crossover.
Yeah.
You can take all these ideas and do with it what you want. You're like, oh my god, that guy. What was he thinking? Well, I think unless there are any other questions, we will sort of wind things up, and you can do some sign. Daniel is standing by with further instructions, I believe.
Exactly. Yeah, we have a few quick things before we move on to the signing portion, which of course will take place right over here to my right. If you do want to have a book signed, feel free to have it signed first before. You can pay for it, just as long as you leave before, or pay for it before you leave. That would be great. And a big thanks again to you, Ben, for hosting tonight.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
And of course, big thanks to Thomas Wharton for being here tonight. This has been amazing. We have a couple quick notes as well with our friends over at Plume, and another big thanks to Random House Canada. We do have a couple upcoming events happening here at the store. One being an evening with Suvankam Famavangsa for Pick a Color and an In Conversation with Lindsay Wong, which is going to be happening Tuesday, October 21st at 7 p.m. in the same spot over here. And then Duncan Mechrady, Only the Scent of You Remained, has been rescheduled for Sunday, October 26th at 2 p.m. here with Rosanna Deerchild hosting. But again, a big thanks to our guests tonight.
One more thing, I just remembered, I brought some bookmarks, some Wolf Moondog bookmarks, so you get a copy, you'll get a cool bookmark.
Well, there we go, even better, here we go, limited edition, that's great. Yeah. Awesome, well, thank you both again so much, this has been a lovely event. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.